Hi, my name is Matt Coulter. I'm an inside sales manager at EIMS based out of global headquarters in Bournemouth. Today we're going to cover Inside Sales Foundation, the what and the how. For the purpose of this module, it's assumed that you've already completed the Channel Foundation e-learning module. This is because it references components of a channel such as value-added resellers and value-added distributors and IT resellers. It's important therefore that you understand what these organisations do and how they fit into the channel. This module of EIMS University is suitable for everyone, whether you're in the sales team, you're a campaign manager or an agent interested in furthering your career. After watching this chapter, you should be able to understand what an inside sales team is and of course what its functions are, how an IS team fits within a vendor's direct and channel organisation, and also how an inside sales team are able to sell to end customers both via the channel and also directly. When it comes to inside sales, the simplest definition is that inside sales is sales remote. Inside sales routinely involves high-touch transactions over the phone and email. Now, contrary to telemarketers, inside sales professionals are highly skilled and knowledgeable individuals. Inside sales, therefore, is a dominant sales model for reps in business-to-business, technology, software as a service, and a variety of business-to-consumer industries, such as selling high-ticket items. Thanks in part to advances in communication technology, inside sales reps can give presentations, conduct demos, and perform most of the functions of a traditional sales team over the phone. The term inside sales was actually created in the late 1980s as an attempt to differentiate from telemarketing, or telesales as we know it here in the UK. Inside sales is therefore more complex, high-touch, phone-based. Quite simply, an inside sales team is a team that executes their selling practices inside of an office over a telephone. Now, when it comes to the function of an inside sales team, the function of an EIMS inside sales team is to completely own the sales cycle from start to finish. This means from business opportunity creation, such as when an inside sales rep prospects a new logo opportunity, through to a close-won deal resulting in revenue. It is to close revenue over the phone independently of a customer's own resource, so as to maximise the largest return on the investment made. The inside sales team exists to generate more revenue for our customer than they otherwise would do on their own. This is obviously offset by costs incurred to get that revenue. Therefore, the team is ideally set up with its own inside sales engineer or technical pre-sales resource, so the inside sales team do not need to rely on the expensive technical resources that work directly for the customer. Typically, field sales reps or outside reps focus on the larger opportunities that will return the most commission for them. The result of this, unfortunately, is that smaller opportunities that actually require the same amount of effort in a lot of cases are left to stagnate. There, the function of the IS team is to ensure that this smaller run rate business is not left on the table. In terms of where an inside sales team fits, it's something of an interesting question. If you were to speak, for example, to the VP of channel inside of the vendor, he or she may say that the EIMS inside sales team is actually an extension of the channel themselves. On the contrary, were you to speak to the sales VP, he or she would probably say that actually the team is a direct extension of their own sales team. It really is a matter of opinion. But as per the diagram, the IS team actually sits directly under the vendor, or even at the same level in terms of accountability, for example, revenue. If we to look at a direct example that we operate here, if you were to run a pod model where the ISRs are paired directly with the field sales reps inside of a vendor, then the notion that the team is an extension of the direct sales business is completely justifiable. Really, it does depend on how the IS team engages with the end customer and the channel alike. We will cover that on the next section. Typically, there are multiple ways for an inside sales team to sell and engage with the end customers. Now, the first one is to sell directly to the end customer with no channel involvement at all. This would typically mean that the ISR would run the sales engagement directly with the customer and would negotiate on things like price, quantities, discounts. Ultimately, the formal quotation would come directly from the inside sales rep to the customer for signature. When the customer then buys, the purchase order would be sent directly to the inside sales rep along with the signed quotation. The inside sales rep will then process the order on the relevant CRM system for the vendor and send that through to the order management team, who would in turn fulfill the order delivery for the customer. The second option is that the ISR may sell direct to a customer, so therefore leads on the sales engagement, but would ultimately fulfill the order via the channel. Typically, this will be where an ISR has found a new opportunity with an end customer, and in this case passes that deal to the value-added reseller that end customer has identified as their preferred partner. Now, the big difference here is that there is a third party involved, and as such, that third party, that value-added reseller, needs to earn their margin on the product. What this means is that a direct conversation with the end user about price point, quantity and discount simply cannot happen. Instead, the value-added reseller must be present during the negotiation phase, because ultimately they are the ones that will be physically selling the product, whatever it may be, in terms of financial transaction to the customer. It's also quite possible that that value-added reseller will already have an existing relationship with that customer, and therefore that needs to be taken into consideration when speaking with them. The quotation in this instance would start off again being created by the ISR, but this time it would be sent to the value-added distributor, who will in turn add their margin and then create their own quote for the partner, the value-added reseller. Lastly, that value-added reseller would create a sales quotation for the customer, and it's this quotation the customer orders from. Of course, they will make sure they add their margins also. In terms of the ordering process, it's the reverse of the quote process. The customer would raise the purchase order and sign the quote and send that through to the reseller. The reseller would then raise a purchase order and sign the distributor's quote and send that to the distributor. And lastly, the value-added distributor would sign the quote that originally came from the ISR and raise an order on the vendor directly. This would typically not pass through the inside sales team, and that is because most vendors will have an ordering system set up directly between themselves and their value-added distributors. The last option is the purely channel-led opportunity. Now, typically, this is where a reseller has identified the business opportunity with the end customer and therefore registered the opportunity as theirs with the vendor, and by doing so, actually secures a higher margin. Now, this is usually called a deal registration or opportunity registration. In this scenario, the value-added reseller completely owns the engagement with the end customer, which would include negotiation around quantity, price, and discounts. But any price support in terms of discounts outside of the margin would be required to be discussed with the inside sales rep for approval. Unless, of course, the partner is willing to take a hit on the margin they are getting to provide discount to the customer. Now, in this scenario, it's sometimes difficult for an ISR to keep control of a deal within a sales funnel, and inside sales rep can actually find themselves chasing value-added resellers for updates rather than focus on driving deals through to close. The best practice here would be to build a solid relationship with a value-added reseller and help them understand that the inside sales team actually has a lot of experience, can do technical demonstrations, but also has technical resource as an example, so that they include each inside sales rep on every deal. Thank you for your attention today. Please do make sure you take the test. Thank you very much.